Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the I'm Not Crazy Alliance podcast, a podcast that involves me, your host, who shall remain anonymous, is spilling tea. I hate that I put that in all my intros, but we're going to go with it now. And analyzing stereotypes and stigmas seen in movies, television, and books. Okay, so for the next little bit, I'm going to be hitting some key points, most of which are going to be movies in this episode, just like the first episode. I promise I'm going to talk about television and books very soon. There's just a lot of movies that I really wanted to cover first, and they're movies that I probably see the most problems with, so I was like, bam, I gotta hit all of these first. So, let's get started with the classic film starring Jack Nicholson, One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Classic film, based on a novel, but this film, which was in 1975, tells the story of a man who feigns mental illness and mental health issues to get out of prison and joins a group of patients in a basically a mental health hospital. Okay. In regards to the film, it does well in portraying the shortcomings of mental health care during the era of institutionalization. I can't speak today. I am very sorry. I would edit this out, but I got a very quick time that I have to do these, unfortunately. And I really want to get these out for you guys. So yeah, because I've got a lot of these that I plan on doing for this. I've decided that I want to make the first few episodes I'm going to do probably about 5 episodes and call that a season 1. And then I'm going to come back because I do have some school obligations, which I'm not going to name, but I do have a few. I'm very excited. I have a state competition coming up for something. Don't worry, it's nothing athletic. I am not athletic. But yeah, I'm going to be preoccupied getting ready for that. So I really want to get these done and get these out for you guys because sometimes it's nice to hear someone talk about these things. Okay, back to One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Okay, so I still can't say the word. Institutionalization. Basically, this was a bad time. Mental health hospitals, which were called, they were psychiatric facilities. They did not treat their patients well. That's just a sad fact. It's not just something you see in film and television. They really did not treat their patients well. And though it can be over-exaggerated, let's say, in media, it's still, they did not do a lot right. It's just real unfortunate. This film did get that right. It did get how horrible the conditions could be right. Okay. Yeah, this one does feature one of the nurses torturing innocent patients and a terrifying scene where Jack Nicholson's character is receiving basically electroconvulsive therapy, which when most people see either of these scenes, they now always associate with mental health hospitals. Despite the fact that this takes place in a time where that might have been common, it's not common now. But unfortunately, people are taking that sad reality from back in the 70s and bringing that back to now, when in fact now they're nothing like that. And if anything, electroconvulsive therapy, let's just call it electrotherapy. Let's be honest. Let's just call it that. It's actually pretty normal and actually isn't that bad. It can actually, I keep saying actually, it can help people. It really can. And nurses could never get away with what Nurse Ratched did. Could never. And it also shows lobotomies, which largely disappeared by the 1970s. So the fact that a character was forced to undergo this procedure and was turned into something of kind of a zombie is ridiculous and still probably scares people to this day, and that's something they're always going to associate with mental health hospitals. It's just a really sad truth. In fact, I actually have statistics this time. Wow, good job. A study published in 1983 of college students found that those who watched the film developed a considerably more negative attitude towards people with mental health issues. So basically, this movie that talked about how terrible mental health hospitals had been in the past affected people's perception of how mental health really was. It didn't affect just the facilities, it affected the people who were in the facilities too. You know, it's not bad enough to think something bad of a facility that actually helps people, but it's people judging and treating people who suffer poorly as well. It's baffling, to be frank. Speaking of frank, I hate that, sorry. I'm so sorry. We're going to talk about a movie that I hold very, very dear to my heart. It's actually the first time I ever met my boyfriend's family. This was the film we watched together, so it always has a very near and dear place in my heart. But that's What About Bob? It's a very special movie starring Bill Murray, who has more than one psychological disorder, one of which is OCD, as well as several phobias. It's not good. In fact, I've done a lot of research on this movie because it's very interesting, because it is wrong on so many levels. I'll get to that in a second. But a lot of people theorize that pretty much every character in this film has some form of mental health problem, including the avoidant and paranoid personality disorders. I can see it, but at the same time, I don't want to stereotype it, so I'm not going to go there. But it's just fascinating what this film has done to people. It gets people theorizing about, these people are all so awful. They all must have mental health issues. Dude, that's so ridiculous. My God. Okay, let's get to the actual problems of the film. So Bob, good old Bill Murray, in the real world would be treated with medication and several years of psychotherapy, because it's established that he has personality disorder. It's not said which one or what it is, but just personality disorder. What? Yeah, I know. He wouldn't be saved, quote unquote, or wouldn't be married by the end and happy by a relaxing vacation that includes being tied to the ship mast. Well, to a ship mast, sorry. In order to conquer his fears. Again, I'll say this. Say it with me. What? It doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't. Because everything in this movie is wrong. It's so funny and so good. But what kind of image is that setting out for people who actually have phobias and actually have OCD and actually have a very general personality disorder that this film has refused to state clearly? Maybe it did in one of the opening scenes. I just didn't catch it. So that'd be on me. I'm sorry. But to my knowledge, they never say it. So, yeah. Okay. So we go from lowbrow humor, despite it being hilarious lowbrow humor. Let's go to our next film, which is A Beautiful Mind. Yes, everyone knows this one. It's based off the real-life story of John Nash, a math genius who won a Nobel Prize for economics, and its depiction of his struggle with paranoid schizophrenia is very inaccurate. Let's just say that. Because, Russell Crowe's character experiences visual hallucinations in the film. It's extremely rare for real-life schizophrenics to find themselves hallucinating anything other than voices or other auditory events. Or auditory, sorry. I cannot talk today, like I said. yeah, they wouldn't. I haven't heard of people who have hallucinated when they have schizophrenia. That's another thing. They hear voices, they hear other auditory kind of noises to throw them off, but it's not. I don't think that's a thing. It could be. I'm not an expert. If you experience this, please let me know in the comments. This is something I want to stress. I want to be more informed about mental health because it is something I truly do care about. And if I say something out of line, call me out. I'll make a retraction. I will do it easy peasy. Okay? Just let me know because I want to help people. That is truly my main goal with this podcast. Let's get back to the beautiful mind. I swear I can't. I lose track of things. I'm so sorry. Okay, anyway. So, psychiatrist gave Crow a little slack due to Nash's high IQ, but claimed the majority of schizophrenic patients cannot recognize their hallucinations aren't real and simply will themselves to stop them. Okay, that makes sense. I guess, because oh my god, this film is so aggravating. So he basically, sorry, I was just reading my notes there for a second. He can see hallucinations, but he knows it doesn't make sense. It's just bad rep. Let's be frank, it's bad rep. I don't need to explain this anymore. It's just bad rep. And Nash does take drugs in the film in addition to his apparent self-management. Schizophrenia is treated mainly through lifelong medication and can't be cured. Yeah. And guess what Russell Crowe does? He's all good by the end. What? It's really unfortunate because it is a good movie. It's an excellent movie. But looking back, the rep is atrocious. And if for something based on a real life story, you'd think they'd actually have more viability. If that's a word, I don't know. Is it a word? I don't know. Okay. Moving on. So let's talk about another movie that I have only seen once. It made me very sad. I can neither say if it's good or not because I have no opinion on it. But I did some research about the mental health rep in it, and I think it's worth talking about. So, Garden State, starring Zach Braff and Natalie Portman. Let's go. So, basically, Zach Braff's Andrew, which is the character he plays, was treated for depression his whole life by his psychiatrist's father. But when he returns home for his mother's funeral, he meets a new and strange girl, and it magically jolts him from his unfeeling stupor, as Natalie Portman, who is this girl, also has a few mental health issues, including being a pathological liar. This is, because manic pixie dream girls need the strangest personality traits as possible. It's ridiculous. Okay. I'm sorry if that offended anyone, by the way. Please let me know. But let's get to business. Same thing. If you watched last week's podcast, you will know I talked about Benny and June and Silver Linings Playbook, both of which have a similar problem. Falling in love, though great, recommend 10 out of 10, does not cure you of your mental health problems. Crazy, I know. If it did, God, my life would be better. But it's just crazy. Because knowing someone who suffers from something, just like you, doesn't always make a positive. It's sad but true. Can you help each other and benefit from each other? Yes, you can. Absolutely. But could you also bring each other down? Also, absolutely. And it frustrates me when films take two quote unquote broken people and bring them together and make them fall in love, and then they're just better. What? Sir, no, it doesn't work like that, my dude. Sorry, I just pounded down on my desk. Other bullet points of this film, I wanted to point out that after being forced into the feels with Frank after being forced into the fields with frank conversation about his... What did I write in my notes? I am so sorry. So basically, after he has a conversation about his mother and he screams into an abyss, Zach Braff decides he no longer will be taking his medications, as if the pills were entirely to blame for his joyless life. In reality, from conditions that are the result of an event such as post-traumatic stress disorder, depression is generally caused by genetics. A chemical imbalance in the brain can't be lifted just because a patient decides one day to feel happy and stop taking their medication. Enough said. Don't stop taking your medication unless you consult a doctor first. Okay? Let's all agree to that. I won't stop taking my medication until my therapist or doctor tells me. You won't stop taking your medication either. If you need medication or feel like you should, talk to someone, because it can help. So if you just decide, hey, let's say you're taking the medication, you're still not happy, talk to someone. Get that fixed. There are other options. Different medication. Maybe you don't need as much, or maybe you need a higher dosage. It really depends. So the fact that he just threw out his pills is entirely irresponsible, and I do not endorse it one bit. So I probably, now reading this, will not be watching this movie. God. See, I wrote these a while back, my notes, and so I don't remember exactly what I wrote for Garden State, because that was the one I was least excited about for this podcast, if I'm being honest. But my God, that sounds problematic. Okay, I'm gonna call it. This has been the Inca Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not going to make you subscribe or hit the bell icon, but if you'd like to, because you either like the sound of my voice, which is crazy, or you actually enjoy what I'm saying, or are interested more in what I'm saying, you can become an Inca warrior. It's really up to you. I'm not going to force you to do anything. I just appreciate everyone listening and everyone who is going through something right now. Know you're loved. I'm here for you, dude. So that is it. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Anonymous. Bye.